70,000 Sassanid troops were waiting for the Muslims. They were determined to fight to their last drop of blood to prevent the Muslims from reaching the city of Hira. The approaching Muslim army had only 18,000 warriors, but they were determined to fulfill the mission given to them by Caliph Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu to capture Hira. Both the armies charged each other with full ferocity. The dust from their footsteps darkened the sky. The battle cries, the cluttering of the swords thundered across the battlefield, and the earth was soaked with blood of the fallen warriors. This was the Battle of Ullais, the ultimate mortal combat. From the battlefield of Ullais, only a few thousand Sassanid soldiers could escape. They regrouped at a place called Ullais, around 10 kilometers north of Ullais. The Arab tribes of Iraq, who were mostly Christians during that period of time, were scared of the expansion of Islam in their territories. Some tribes already joined the fight against the Muslims during the Battle of the River and Ullais with the Sassanids. But after the Sassanid defeat in Ullais, the rest of the Christian Arab tribes decided to make a strong stand against the Muslims. So they started gathering at Ullais as well. Muslim spies already brought the news of accumulation of enemy forces to Khalid radhiyallahu anhu. But at this point, the number of enemy fighters was not alarming for the Muslims yet. So Khalid radhiyallahu anhu ordered the Muslim troops to camp at Ullais and take rest for a few days. In the meantime, an order from the Sassanid emperor reached Bahman on his way to Hira. No one knows why, but Bahman decided to go to Ctesiphon to meet the emperor in person. He left the command of the army to his deputy, Zaban. Zaban was ordered to join the rest of the Sassanid forces in Ullais and wait there until Bahman returned from Ctesiphon. He was strictly ordered not to engage the Muslims. Once Bahman reached Ctesiphon, he found the emperor to be gravely ill and could not meet the emperor in person to discuss the issues he wanted to discuss. So Bahman's plans got delayed. Khalid radhiyallahu anhu received the news of the troops of Zaban moving towards Ullais. In total, there would be almost 70,000 fighters on the Sassanid side at Ullais. Khalid radhiyallahu anhu decided not to wait anymore and ordered his troops to march again after 10 days of Battle of Ullais. The Muslims had only 18,000 warriors, lot less than Sassanid numbers. But because of their strong iman, they were not afraid of facing any enemy force, no matter how big and strong. Zaban knew very well about what happened in Ullais and heard about the approaching Muslims. He did not want to give the Muslims the opportunity to launch another surprise attack, so he arranged his troops between the junction of two rivers so that Muslims could attack from the front of the army and not from any other directions. One of the rivers was the river Euphrates, and the other was a branch of the Euphrates that was separated with a dam. Hence the river bed was dry, but the trench was still there. Zaban thought he still had several days at hand before the Muslims could reach Ullais. However, the Muslims marched with full speed toward the enemy and reached the battlefield long before the enemies anticipated their arrival. This caught the Sassanids off guard as they did not expect the Muslims to arrive so soon with full battle preparation. It is said, when the Muslims arrived near Ullais, the Sassanids were busy in cooking meals. So sudden was the arrival of the Muslims. However, the Sassanids could still quickly take their battle formation to fight the Muslims. The elite Sassanid troops took the center of the line. The Arab auxiliaries were stationed at the wings. The Muslims also formed three groups. The center was under the command of Khalid radhiyallahu anhu himself, and the wings were under the command of Adi bin Hatim and Asim bin Amr. Once both armies took their positions, the leader of the Christian Arab troops came forward and challenged the Muslims for a duel. Khalid radhiyallahu anhu accepted the challenge on behalf of the Muslims. A fierce sword fight took place for some time, but in the end, The Arab leader could not prevail in front of the ferocity of the sword of Allah. No one knows for sure what exactly happened next. No detailed record of the chain of events during the Battle of Ullais survived to modern times. So we can only describe the events in very general terms. Two armies engaged each other with full determination to fight to the last breath. The fierce attacking spirit of the Muslims was unmatched. The Sassanids committed all their strength to stop the Muslims from breaking into the Sassanid line. 70,000 troops tried their absolute best to push only 18,000 Muslim fighters back. But even after hours of brutal fighting, the Muslims did not even move an inch. This shows how brave and heroic the early Muslims were and how strong their iman was. They were not afraid of anything, and nothing was more dear to them than dying on the path of Islam. This steadfastness of the Muslim fighters finally made the difference. After hours of intense fighting, the Sassanid troops started to show their exhaustion. The soldiers who fled the battlefield in the earlier encounters with the Muslims started to retreat yet again. This created chaos and confusion amidst the Sassanids. The Muslims took full advantage of the situation and attacked with renewed vigor and speed. Under the ferocious attack by the Muslims, the Sassanid lines began to falter, and the Muslims pierced through the Sassanid defense. Khalid did not want any enemy to escape from the battlefield yet again and fight the Muslims in future battles. He wanted to make a statement so that any Sassanid army would fear facing the Muslims in future. So he ordered the Muslims not to take any prisoners and slay all the enemies in the battlefield. The Muslims wholeheartedly followed the command of their leader and moved through the enemy battalions, lashing their swords left and right, striking the retreating enemies at each stroke. It soon turned out to be a complete bloodbath for the Sassanids. Once the battle turned towards Muslim side, Khalid sent several groups of Muslims to capture as many fleeing enemies as possible, bring them to the battleground, and kill them as well, so that no enemy could escape the battlefield to fight ever again against the Muslims. Soon, the dried-out riverbed was filled out with piles of corpses and blood of Sassanid combatants. Only a handful of the 70,000 Sassanid troops survived the Battle of Ullais. The Muslims lost around 2,000 warriors. Khalid ordered the Muslims to cut open the dam, and water from Euphrates rushed into the riverbed, drowning all the corpses. The blood from the dead bodies instantly made the color of the water as red as blood. Hence, the Battle of Ullais came to be known as the Battle of Blood River. This was a resounding victory for the Muslims. With the defeat at Ullais, the Sassanid had no more troops to fight the Muslims in Iraq and prevent them from reaching Hira. The ferocity of the Muslim attack during the Battle of Ullais struck deep fear in enemy minds. The Christian Arab tribes of Iraq would never dare to fight the Muslims on open fields ever again. The gateway to Hira was now wide open before the Muslims. The ultimate goal of the Islamic conquest of Iraq was closer than ever before.